They say trash has no value, but wait till you see what it can become. What if I told you your next garden upgrade is already sitting in your garage, waiting to be reborn? In this video, you'll discover 40+ creative, soul-stirring DIY garden border ideas made from things most people throw away: broken bottles, torn blinds, old toys, even rusted keys. This is Arkan Aesthetic Studio, where we turn forgotten objects into functional beauty. You'll find timestamps below to jump between ideas. Feel free to comment your questions. I personally reply to each one. And if something speaks to you, recreate it with what you already have. Not perfection, just imagination. Because the best gardens aren't made from money, they're made from meaning. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story and a real family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you hit that subscribe button, you're not just helping a creator grow. You're helping a dream stay alive. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. One wine bottle garden glow. There's something quietly magical about turning yesterday's empties into today's garden poetry. In the soft light of early morning or the warmth of late afternoon, something unexpected catches your eye. Glass, worn, reused, repurposed, glowing like colored gems against the soil. These aren't ordinary garden borders. They're reminders that beauty often hides in what others throw away. The bottles are buried neck deep, some upright, some tilted, forming a pattern that is neither perfect nor planned, but wholly alive. Greens, ambers, blues, each one telling a story. A dinner party remembered, a celebration gone, a quiet night shared, now reborn in earth. Among them, marigolds and daisies bloom, their bold petals nodding gently in the breeze. Zinnias rise confidently, tall and unbothered by the company of glass. The bottles hold the line, not as walls, but as companions, keeping soil in, keeping structure soft, and adding light to every step along the way. You don't need much to recreate this, just a bit of patience. Some bottles you've been meaning to toss, and a willingness to see things differently. One trick? Mix colors and shapes. The more variety, the more charm. If you're worried about safety, lightly sand the edges or bury the bottlenecks deeper into the soil. For curved beds, turn the bottles slightly as you go to follow the shape. And don't stress over perfection. The wonky ones are often the most admired. And there's more than just looks here. The glass helps retain moisture near the roots and discourages some pests, while also reflecting light in unexpected ways. By afternoon, when the sun is strongest, you'll see glints of color scatter like tiny fairies dancing across mulch and petals. What you're making isn't just edging. It's a statement that gardens aren't always built from catalogs and price tags. Sometimes, they're built from memory, from reuse, from the soul. Let your border be uneven. Let it be joyful. Let it shimmer with all the beauty of a life that chooses creation over consumption. Because when the light hits just right, no one will care that it came from a bottle. They'll just stop and smile. 2. Bamboo blind blossom border. Sometimes, the most peaceful garden details don't shout. They whisper. And in this quiet corner, that whisper comes from bamboo, aged, humble, and given a second life. These garden borders and dividers weren't bought new. They were once forgotten blinds, rolled up in the back of a closet or leaning against a garage wall, brittle with time and stories. But today, tied with twine and rooted in soil, they've become something entirely different. A backdrop for growth, a frame for beauty. Look closely and you'll see how well they blend with the garden. Not overpowering the flowers, but supporting them, holding space for them to bloom. Lavender stretches gracefully alongside the slats. Creeping thyme nestles below. Calendula bursts forward in orange delight, as if the bamboo knew exactly where to stand back and let nature take the spotlight. Even the imperfections, slight bends, faded color, frayed edges, add character. These aren't factory fences. They're real, textured, touchable. They breathe with the garden. You don't need to be a craftsman to build something like this. Just bamboo blinds, some garden twine, and a little patience. Wrap them around raised beds to add softness and shape. Line them between fence posts to create a sense of enclosure, not to keep things out, but to hold a little magic in. And the magic, it turns out, isn't just aesthetic. Bamboo creates a gentle windbreak for young seedlings. It provides climbing support for ivy and morning glory. It even casts subtle shadow patterns across the soil, creating moments of movement as the sun travels overhead, living light paintings that change with each hour. There's something deeply grounding about seeing something old find its place again, not as waste, but as welcome. Bamboo, after all, grows fast. It's a material of renewal, so it feels right to use it here, in a space that's all about nurturing growth. So next time you walk past those old blinds you've meant to throw away, pause. Imagine them lining your garden. Imagine them softened by sun and soil, tied with memory and string. Imagine the calm they could bring. Because in a garden like this, nothing needs to be new to feel new again. Three, perfume bottle plant jewels. Not all gardens grow in soil. Some bloom quietly on shelves. Others dangle from fences. And a few, well, they shine in sunlight through fractured glass. These are not just planters. These are whispers from the past, given a gentle second life. In a quiet corner of a patio, vintage perfume bottles, once treasured for their scent, now cradle living greens. Succulents curl upward from the cracked lips of clear glass. Echeveria, jade, and tiny roots press gently against the crystal walls, catching light like old jewelry rediscovered. The sun warms the stone floor, and every reflection feels like a tiny blessing. Elsewhere, hung carefully by twine, small clear bottles swing softly in the breeze. Each one tied with memory. Each one holding a handful of wild joy, daisies, lavender, forget-me-nots. They sway not for show, but to greet the light. The wood behind them, aged and full of character, becomes the perfect gallery wall for this living art. And then there's the shelf. A modest wooden plank on a brick wall. A simple idea, yet full of heart. Frosted bottles lined in a row, their surfaces etched and imperfect, cradle-dried wheat, eucalyptus, and baby's breath. You can almost hear the silence they bring, that quiet moment when the garden becomes a memory, and the memory becomes decor. What ties all of this together isn't the glass or the flowers. It's the hands behind them, your hands. Because to create beauty from something broken takes more than craft. It takes vision. And it takes love. To recreate this look, don't search for perfection. Let the cracks show. Let the bottles mismatch. Use what you have, even the chipped ones. Wrap them with string, group them with intention, and let nature do the rest. A sprig here, a bloom there, maybe even nothing but air and memory. These displays don't demand space. They don't require tools or expertise. Only care, and a willingness to believe that what once held perfume can now hold life. That what once was decoration can now be sanctuary. Because in a garden like this, borders aren't always about keeping in or out. Sometimes, they're about reminding us that even the most delicate, discarded things still have a place to grow. Four, Ocean Dream Border Design. Sometimes, the most beautiful things in our garden aren't planted, they're found. Imagine walking barefoot down a beach, the sun warming your skin, your hands brushing through scattered shells and sea glass along the shore. Now imagine taking that memory home and letting it bloom beside your flowers. That's exactly what this garden does. It doesn't just grow plants, it grows stories. Here, in a soft wave that meanders through gravel and mulch, broken sea glass glows in green and blue. The edges are marked not with plastic or concrete, but with conch shells, each one imperfect and real. Some are chipped, others sun-bleached, but all of them carry the feeling of salt, wind, and time. Just beyond the curve, aloe vera and lavender rise, strong, simple, and grounded, framed like a painting by this border of coastal memory. There's no heavy design here, no rules, just natural beauty arranged with human touch. A kind of effortless harmony, as if the sea whispered, "You can bring me home." Further on, you'll find a tiny circular bed, ringed with clamshells and scattered marbles. Inside, marigolds bloom like little suns, and pansies nod their heads in purple delight. It's such a small thing, but it doesn't feel small. It feels sacred, because someone didn't just build a border. They gave discarded things purpose. They brought treasure to soil. And in the final curve of the path, where the sand blends into pebbles and soft shadows stretch across crushed glass, the colors shift once more, deeper blues, rougher shells, smoother stones. It looks like a secret tide line, frozen in time. A moment caught between sea and garden, and made permanent with love. If you wish to create something like this, you won't need much. Just eyes that see beauty in what others walk past. A few hours under the sun. And a heart open to nature's gentle rhythms. So gather your shells. Let the imperfections show. Let them line your beds and shape your pathways. Let your garden speak not of cost or trends, but of memories, moments you've lived, places you've wandered, and the dream of waves that still echo in your soul. Because some borders don't fence in. They open up. To wonder. To stories. To home. Five, Cushioned roots bed. In the quiet rhythm of a backyard morning, where dew clings to garden tools and the hum of life is soft but steady, creativity blooms not only in the soil, but in the choices we make with what we have. Take a closer look at these humble raised beds. What you see peeking from the edges isn't store-bought insulation, nor some fancy designer invention. It's torn, sun-yellow sofa foam, once discarded, now a silent guardian of life beneath the roots. These makeshift borders cradle the earth gently, offering warmth and structure to rosemary, thyme, and sprouting tomato vines. Each edge is imperfect, a little jagged, a little sun-cracked. But the plants? The plants don't mind. They grow tall. They grow happy. They grow real. It's a quiet kind of brilliance, not the brilliance of grandeur, but of resourcefulness. Someone saw beyond what was broken, beyond what was trash. They saw possibility. Inside repurposed crates, the foam acts as a buffer, protecting roots from extreme shifts in temperature. It hugs the inner wood with softness, preserving moisture in summer's blaze, and offering a small shield when the chill rolls in. It's not expensive, it's not polished, but it works. And perhaps, that's the most beautiful thing about it. In another corner of the garden, leafy basil, vibrant peppers, and ruffled lettuce rise from dark, rich soil framed by wooden boxes. Again, the same old foam, tucked neatly against the walls, shows up like a signature from a gardener who truly loves the craft, who knows that gardening isn't just about results. It's about care, about reinvention, about kindness toward the earth, and toward the materials we've once thrown away. Even the crates, mismatched, rugged, hold their own charm. Their slats give glimpses of golden sponge tucked behind them. And when the wind moves through, it doesn't just whisper through leaves. It dances through ingenuity. If you ever thought you needed a big budget to build a thriving garden, let this be your reminder. You don't. You need vision. You need love. And sometimes, all you need is an old cushion and a little faith in your own hands. Because in the end, beauty doesn't have to be flawless. It just has to grow. Six, reflective rainbow guard. In a quiet corner of the garden, where light filters gently through morning mist, something shimmers unexpectedly, not from dew nor water, but from memories. Old CDs, scratched, weathered, once filled with songs and files and forgotten data, now stand proudly among fresh soil and tender greens. One by one, they've been transformed, from digital relics to radiant guardians of a new kind of beauty. The border around a bed of lettuce gleams in the sunlight. It's a ring of silver, soft-edged but sturdy. The CDs reflect the light in fragmented rainbows, bouncing against the rich earth and the veins of leaves. They don't just look magical, they serve a purpose. Their shine discourages birds from nibbling the new growth. Their smooth shape protects delicate roots from stray feet and shifting soil. Nearby, strung on twine between garden posts, more CDs sway gently in the wind, a quiet wind chime of light and motion. Suspended over rows of bushy green beans, they catch the eye of more than just the camera. Insects hesitate, birds keep their distance, and we pause, taken by the humble brilliance of it all. Who would have thought the things we once threw away, the music we no longer play, the data we no longer need, could be reimagined into something so alive? Further along the path, a walkway lined with discs stretches between spinach and nasturtiums. They lie half-buried, like shiny stepping stones, no longer spinning in drives, but now catching sunlight instead, giving structure and rhythm to the chaos of growth. And this is what makes DIY so special. It isn't always about perfection. It's about recognition, seeing potential where others don't. It's about taking the dull, the discarded, and letting it dance again. In a world that moves fast, where things become obsolete in a moment, your garden becomes a place where old things still matter, where they're not just reused, they're reborn. So gather your old CDs. Let them guard your plants, reflect the sun, and whisper rainbows back into your backyard. Not everything magical has to be new. Some of the most beautiful things come from what we choose to keep. Seven, Whimsical puzzle path. Sometimes, the most enchanting paths are the ones built not from grand plans, but from pieces once lost in a dusty drawer. There's something deeply poetic in the way puzzle pieces, worn, chipped, forgotten, find their way into the garden, reborn beneath our feet. Here, a trail winds gently through beds of white daisies and violet pansies. The ground is soft with gravel, but peppered with colorful puzzle tiles, many hand-painted, others still bearing cartoon faces from old children's sets. The shapes are playful, the path irregular, but the feeling it gives, it's like walking through a storybook. The air is still, birdsong faint, and sunlight glints off faded paint. It's not just a walkway, it's a memory lane that never existed before, and yet, it feels like it's always been here. Further down, sunflower stalks stretch tall beside thick, interlocking puzzle blocks. Some are blue, others pink or white, imperfect, but cheerfully bold. They form a border for the garden bed, holding back the earth while casting shadows that dance across their surfaces. It doesn't look manufactured. It doesn't need to. Its charm lies in its character, like a child's dream, translated into concrete and color. And at the heart of it all, a circle. A gathering of pebbles, puzzle pieces, broken tiles, and shy succulents, arranged not with mathematical precision, but with love. Ivy creeps along the outer edge, softening the lines, reminding us that nature will always embrace what's offered gently. This is not perfection. This is not symmetry. This is something much more rare. This is creativity without boundaries, a mosaic of imagination, crafted from discarded things that once held stories, now telling new ones in the garden. You don't need to buy fancy borders. Sometimes all it takes is what you already have, the willingness to experiment, and the belief that beauty can grow from anything. Because a puzzle doesn't have to be complete to feel whole, especially not when it's laid with intention, where roots meet light and footsteps become part of the design. Eight, Playful patio bounce border. Somewhere between the garden's breath and the laughter of past summers lies a quiet revival, not of grand gestures, but of playful whispers. Tennis balls, once the echo of ambition and weekend tournaments, now line garden beds with purpose renewed. In the first scene, we're drawn into a pebble pathway flanked by orderly tennis balls, gently guiding the eye like punctuation marks in a poem. Each one is slightly worn, sun-bleached or still vibrant. Their fuzzy green glow a soft contrast to the gravel underfoot. This isn't just a border, it's a rhythm, a light-hearted melody stitched along a garden's path. Simple to replicate, all it takes is alignment, consistency, and a willingness to give old things new roles. Move a little deeper, and you'll find a circle. A floating halo of tennis balls delicately suspended on metal stakes, encircling a bouquet of calendulas like guardians at play. Their formation isn't perfect, and that's precisely the charm. Their imperfection mirrors the human hand that placed them. The wire is thin, but strong enough to hold meaning. It's a tiny fence, but its message is grand. Creativity needs neither polish nor permission. Finally, a raised garden bed speaks in color and curve. Balls of every shade, neon, lime, forest green, even soft orange, nestle along the wooden frame. It's as if the border itself is cheering for the pansies and parsley inside, forming a protective yet playful watch. This version takes a bit more care, as each ball may be halved or tucked into place. But it's welcoming, achievable, real. Each of these ideas is gentle on the wallet and light on the environment, a form of eco-poetry that asks only for intention and imagination. Don't toss away what's tired. Repurpose it. Let your garden reflect the stories of the objects you once thought were done serving you. There are no perfect cuts here, no machine-made angles, only heart. Real hands, real soil, real joy. So the next time you stumble upon a forgotten tennis ball in the back of your garage, don't see trash. See a potential border, a new line in your living poem. Because beauty often hides in what we've chosen to ignore. And the garden, always forgiving, is where those things come alive again. Nine, candy container vertical bloom. There's something magical that happens when you see color and life blooming from what once was considered waste. Take a quiet walk down a backyard path, and your gaze meets a fence. Not just any fence, but one bursting with rows of neon pinks, sky blues, citrus yellows, and greens. These are not store-bought planters. They're candy containers. Once filled with sweets, now they cradle marigolds and violets, their roots visible like lacework against the translucent plastic. It's the kind of transformation that speaks not just to creativity, but to care, for beauty, for nature, for the planet. With a bit of string or shoelace, each tub becomes a cradle for life. Tied gently and hung with purpose, they sway ever so slightly in the breeze, casting playful shadows against the wooden slats behind them. Sunlight filters through the containers, illuminating every sprouting root and petal. It's honest light, nothing curated or filtered, allowing the scene to remain true to what it is: simple, soulful reuse. Look closely, and you'll find variety. Some are crafted from clear jars once home to hard candy. Others, brightly colored bins from a forgotten kitchen shelf. Their imperfections only make them more endearing, more real. You can almost imagine a child reaching for sweets from these tubs not long ago, now replaced by the sweet scent of soil and blooming herbs. This is not just decoration. It's an act of hope, an invitation to anyone who says, "I don't have space," or "I can't afford a garden." You don't need much, just your hands, your time, and maybe a few leftover containers. This is a fairy garden reimagined, not with gold or glitter, but with love, leftovers, and a little light. So if you're looking for inspiration, start here. On a fence, with a piece of plastic, a ribbon, and a handful of soil. Transform trash into charm. Turn the everyday into something enchanting. Build beauty where no one expects it. And in doing so, you just might plant more than flowers. You might plant joy. Ten, paintbrush plant poets. There's a certain magic in the act of giving something a second life. Beneath the rustling of herbs and the hush of a summer breeze, something unexpected is growing. Not just the rosemary or parsley, but a quiet, deliberate charm rising from old forgotten tools. Paintbrushes, once stained with color and work, now find themselves reborn in the soil, not to paint walls, but to whisper names. Their bristles weathered, their handles worn, they now stand upright like sentinels in the garden, declaring with confidence, "Here grows time," or "This is rosemary." Look closer. The brushes are not chosen for perfection, but for memory. Some are still flecked with blues and reds from their former life, hints of projects long past. One may have painted a child's room, another, the fence it now rests beside. And now, like poetry etched in wood, they've been scrawled with names in permanent ink. A simple act, yet quietly artistic. In the rich soil of a raised herb bed, these brushes breathe warmth into the space. No expensive markers, no plastic stakes, just honest reuse. If you ever wondered whether function and beauty could grow side by side, this garden whispers yes. The scene feels like a page from a gardener's old journal, left open in the sun. Each brush tells a story, not just of plants, but of the hands that once held them. You might find a sense of rhythm here, the repetition of shapes, the gentle variance in handle lengths, the way they stand confidently among basil, mint, and green bell peppers like a painter's army. To recreate something like this is simple, but it begins with a shift in how we see objects. A paintbrush isn't just a tool, it's a memory holder. And in the garden, it becomes a signpost of life. So if your brushes are too frayed for walls, don't throw them away. Plant them. Let them write something new. Let your garden be a canvas, painted in soil, rooted in purpose. Because sometimes, the most beautiful gardens aren't designed. They're remembered. (11) Ribbon and Lace Plant Trail. Beneath the golden sun, and along the quiet hum of wooden fences, there lies a tale of transformation, of forgotten things made magical again. Once discarded candy containers now spill over with violets and marigolds, their bright colors catching morning light like stained glass in a backyard cathedral. They swing gently, suspended by shoelaces and scraps of ribbon, wrapped like tiny gifts waiting to be opened by the eyes of passers-by. The plastic may be old, but its new role is radiant. These are not just containers, they are canvases, blooming with stories of renewal. And then, tucked among leafy herbs and warm soil, a different kind of poetry grows. Old paintbrushes, their bristles splayed and stiff with time, now stand proudly as plant markers. Rosemary, thyme, and cilantro flourish under their watchful wooden gaze. Some brushes are still flecked with color, evidence of past projects, while others wear names hand-scrawled in ink. Each one, a little sentinel of growth, an artist's tool reborn to serve the garden. Further down the path, you might find a parade of tin cans, mason jars, and plastic cups, all dressed in delicate lace and fluttering ribbons. Mint and parsley rise from the soil, wrapped in the tender arms of pastel cloth. The breeze makes the ribbons dance, catching sunlight like strands of fairy silk. These are not just planters. They're declarations of creativity, whispers of joy stitched together with string and spontaneity. This is the kind of garden that doesn't demand perfection. It sings with imperfection, celebrating textures, mismatches, sun-faded labels, and reimagined objects that once knew only utility or disposal. This is slow art, grown by hand. It invites you to pause, to smile, and to see your everyday leftovers as the start of something beautiful. If you're wondering how to begin your own journey, start small. Gather what's around you. Candy tubs, paintbrushes, old ribbons, or even the lace from a worn-out shoe. Plant a flower or a seed. Let the sun and wind do the rest. Because sometimes, the loveliest gardens are not the ones planned with perfection in mind, but the ones stitched together with heart, memory, and a little touch of playfulness. "12. Paperclip hanging garden." In a quiet corner of a backyard, under soft dapples of sun, hangs a row of makeshift magic, not crafted from gold or marble, but from jars, tin cans, and the humblest of objects, paper clips. They dangle gently from a line of twine, dancing in the breeze like tiny bells in a forgotten wind chime. Each glass jar or recycled tin cradles a bit of life, mint, oregano, thyme, maybe even a sprig of rosemary or pansy, and all of it is held aloft not by fancy hooks or store-bought hangers, but by old, bent paper clips. Their shapes imperfect, some slightly rusted, some stretched with time, yet all serving their new purpose with quiet grace. This is not a display of perfection. It's not meant to impress, and that's the point. It invites us to see beauty in the small, in the reused, in the things we've once called trash but now call treasure. There's a soft poetry to this garden. The way the herbs catch the afternoon light, their shadows long and leafy against wooden fence slats. The clear jars, once maybe jam holders or baby food containers, now turned into little greenhouses for tender shoots. And the paper clips, bent with care, remind us that gardening doesn't begin at the hardware store. It begins in the heart, in the drawer of old office supplies, in the box of forgotten kitchen scraps. If you've ever wanted to build a vertical herb garden but didn't know where to begin, begin here. Start with what you already have. Some twine, a few empty containers, paper clips from the back of a drawer. No need to rush to the store, just slow down, gather, and imagine. Thread the twine along your fence or porch beam. Bend the clips gently into hooks. Fill each container with water, soil, or moss. Then tuck in your greens, herbs for your cooking, flowers for your soul. The real magic happens when the wind picks up. The jars sway softly, casting flickering shadows like lanterns. There's movement, life, and the sweet satisfaction of having created something beautiful from what others might have thrown away. You don't need perfection to make beauty bloom. Just a little sun, a little string, and the willingness to see possibility in the overlooked. Let this be your invitation, to create not a garden, but a story, one that swings gently on the breeze, full of charm, reuse, and quiet joy. "13. Would puzzle raised beds." In a quiet corner of an old garden, where the bricks meet the soil and the morning sun casts soft golden lines, something magical rises from what others might call junk. Here, puzzle pieces, once part of forgotten games, scattered in attic boxes and dusty shelves, have been reborn. Weathered and mismatched, they now form rustic garden beds and gentle borders. Some are painted in soft pastels, now chipped and faded by time. Others remain raw, showing their grain, their history, their story. Together, they interlock not just in shape, but in spirit, creating unity from fragments. One raised bed bursts with tulips and lettuce, their vibrant greens and reds playing against the soft, textured backdrop of aged wood. It feels like a poem, handcrafted and quiet, one that speaks of resourcefulness, nostalgia, and care. Each corner, each knot in the wood, each exposed nail tells a story of reuse and resilience. Nearby, a row of puzzle panels meanders like a wooden river at the edge of a herb patch. The pattern isn't perfect, and that's exactly what makes it beautiful. Imperfection becomes charm. Irregularity becomes character. Parsley, sage, and bright orange marigolds spill gently over the edge, blurring the line between creation and wildness. And on a sunlit patio, a smaller puzzle bed sits proudly between terracotta pots. Lettuce leaves cradle the warm light while tulips stand tall like sentinels of spring. The puzzle boards hold them gently, securely, like a handmade hug crafted from discarded scraps and a clever heart. This is more than gardening. This is transformation. So if you've got a few odd planks, old puzzle boards, or mismatched bits of wood, don't toss them. Don't see trash where there's potential for poetry. Let your hands shape them into something new. Sand down the edges if needed, or let them stay rough. Paint them, or let them wear their weather proudly. Then plant something, anything. A flower, a herb, a whisper of green. And suddenly, your garden becomes a canvas. A place not just of growth, but of memory, creativity, and quiet revolution. Sometimes, the most beautiful borders are the ones made not to separate, but to connect, past and present, utility and art, you and the earth. (14) Terracotta shard borders. In a quiet corner of the garden, where sunlight pools gently on terracotta and thyme, there lies a border unlike any other. Not built from freshly bought bricks, nor shaped with perfection in mind, but pieced together from the forgotten, the broken, the once thrown away. What you see here is a tribute to imperfection. Terracotta shards, once cracked pots, fractured by time or clumsy hands, now stand proud as guardians of herb beds and blooms. Each piece, unique in curve and scar, is carefully tucked into soil like storybook teeth lining a smile. Together, they form a circle of warm, earthen orange that feels more heartfelt than polished marble ever could. In one image, rosemary and thyme reach skyward within their circle of clay. The rough edges of the shards hold them like an embrace. There's a kind of poetry in the contrast, the soft green growth against the hard terracotta, fresh life framed by what was once considered trash. Elsewhere, a winding garden path bends through a dance of cracked pots. Some are still half-whole, others shattered and stacked, each piece nestled like a jigsaw assembled with instinct. A stroke of teal paint on one, a soft moss stain on another. These aren't decorations, they're memories in clay. The kind only hands that garden in silence and joy know how to place. And then there's the flower bed, radiant with begonias and snapdragons. Its border formed from pot fragments buried upright, catching golden light. Their rough texture and sun-baked tone seem to echo an older time, when nothing was wasted and beauty was found in whatever remained. This is more than a DIY tip. It's an invitation to see the value in the broken. To pick up a pot you thought was useless and let it live again, not as trash, but as a frame for life. You don't need a perfect plan. Let your intuition guide the shape. Let your hands touch earth. Let the edges be uneven. If you have old pots tucked away, cracked at the rim or split in two, don't throw them out. Turn them into a soft, earthy sculpture for your garden. Let the soil hold them steady, and watch how something once discarded now anchors beauty. This is art made quietly. This is storytelling with dirt and clay. And perhaps it's also a reminder that even the most broken things can still hold life. "15. Fairy Tale Doll Fence." In a quiet corner of an overgrown garden, where marigolds sway like lanterns in the afternoon breeze and wild violets stretch toward the sun, a new kind of magic takes root, not in pristine tools or polished marble borders, but in the forgotten, the fractured, and the strangely beautiful. Here, broken doll parts are reborn. Old doll heads, their gazes blank and serene, hang gently from twine along a wooden fence, each one wrapped in soft, vintage lace like a child's bedtime story told long ago and left behind. Between their porcelain faces, clusters of colorful buttons dangle in soft arcs, catching the light like wild jewelry. The mushrooms growing at their feet seem to nod knowingly, as if nature itself understands the quiet poetry of salvage and repurpose. Elsewhere, a garden bed blooms within a border made of headless doll torsos, each one wrapped in delicate crochet lace, bound by ribbon like handmade gifts. They stand in a circle, protectors of color and life. Snapdragons and pansies bloom within, their cheerful resilience made even more tender by the contrast of the aged plastic guardians. There's something deeply personal here, a reminder that beauty often grows best in the company of what's been through time and wear. And then, there's the drapery of limbs. Yes, arms and legs of dolls, strung together with strands of vintage pearls and beads, hang gently like forgotten wind chimes against a backdrop of golden marigolds. Lace curtains soften the entire scene, giving it not just eerie elegance but a warmth, as though someone with a deep love for storybooks and broken things built it slowly, piece by piece, by hand and by heart. This is not just garden decor, it is garden storytelling. For those who want to try this whimsical, surreal approach themselves, the trick isn't perfection, it's intuition. Trust in your eye, your hands, and your heart. Visit thrift shops, ask neighbors for discarded toys, search the attic for old fabrics and forgotten treasures. Nothing needs to match. In fact, the more mismatched, the more magical. Let your garden whisper stories of childhood dreams, of items once lost now found, of strange beauty woven together with care. Because even the most unconventional materials, discarded dolls, aged beads, cracked ceramic, can become pieces of living poetry when placed with love beside growing things. And isn't that what gardens are meant to be? Places where life meets memory, and the wild meets the whimsical. "16. Sea Glass Fence Fantasy." Beneath the hush of sea-salted winds and the golden hush of the afternoon sun, a garden begins to whisper. Not with petals or fountains, but with forgotten things, pieces of glass softened by time, sun-bleached shells, ceramic shards once buried in sand. What once was tossed aside has become treasure here. A coastal dream retold in textures, twine, and tides. In the first scene, strands of jute gently cradle sea glass in hues of jade, aqua, and ice blue. Each piece imperfect. Some still bear hairline cracks from their earlier lives as bottles or window panes. Beside them hang scallop shells, fragile yet stubborn, like tiny paper moons swaying softly in the breeze. Below, a sandy bed blooms with rosettes of succulents. This little corner, though modest, feels like a breeze from the shoreline. Quiet, handmade, real. And if you listen close, you might just hear the sea breathing through the glass. This kind of fence decor is beautifully simple to create. Gather remnants from beach walks, glass worn smooth by waves, shells with holes perfect for threading. String them on twine or fishing line. Let them dangle freely, letting the sun do the rest. The beauty lies in not trying too hard. Let imperfection be part of the design. Let the sun paint them new every morning. Then, the mosaic, vibrant, bold, radiant like a sunburst caught mid-laugh. A swirl of blue tiles mimics the sea's rhythms, while white ceramic curls into waves. There are shards of pottery here, broken plates, smoothed porcelain, all forming a symphony of color and memory. The centerpiece, a handmade sun composed of marbles and slivers of shell, glows without needing electricity. This isn't just a wall. It's a map of tides, a story of shoreline walks and Sunday afternoons spent collecting. You can make one, too. Just gather your pieces, plan your pattern loosely, and start pressing them into mortar. There are no rules here, just rhythm and feeling. Finally, we come to the most lyrical moment of all. A fence dressed in a garland of sea-washed glass and delicate shells. Hung loosely like a necklace offered to the wind, it catches the light in a way no factory ornament ever could. Greens, blues, and whites mix like an ocean lullaby. Each shell, with its ridges and tiny chips, speaks of time and tide. When they sway, they click gently like distant wind chimes. A lullaby for anyone who's ever loved the sea. If you want to try this at home, start small. Don't worry about matching colors or perfect spacing. This isn't about precision, it's about presence. Let your fingers do the weaving. Let the sun and breeze do the finishing. In the end, what you create isn't just decoration. It's a memory made tangible. A border that doesn't separate, but invites. A garden edge that doesn't confine, but sings. And from what? From glass that once cut. From shells that once cracked. From things once called trash. This is more than craft. It's poetry in twine and tide. Glow Lantern Border Light. As the sky fades into velvet and the garden exhales the last breath of sunlight, something magical begins to stir among the trees and petals. Not with grandeur, but with grace. A gentle illumination that tells a story of forgotten things given new light. Here, hanging from the old limbs of a blooming tree, are lanterns made not from pristine materials, but from scraps of paper, torn lace, and bits of ribbon long discarded. Some glow unevenly, others dangle with threads swaying like wind-blown whispers. And yet, they are beautiful, not despite their imperfections, but because of them. It's the kind of beauty that feels real, like laughter lines on a face or a well-worn book spine. A few steps away, nestled beside pots of lavender and grass that sway softly in the breeze, sit more lanterns. Once jam jars, perhaps, or dented old camping lights now wrapped in handmade collage, textured paper, and love. Their glow is humble but comforting, like the light from a kitchen window late at night when you thought everyone had gone to bed. Each lantern is a reminder that even broken things, even what we once called trash, can be a source of warmth and magic. The trick lies in seeing what others overlook. That tin can? It could be a fairy house. That crumpled parchment? A canvas for late-night dreams. If you're wondering how to begin, start with what you have. A leftover paper lantern from a party, a button missing its twin, a glass jar whose lid is long gone. Add a string of solar lights or even a tea candle in a recycled cup. Let your hands move slowly, without rush, and don't strive for perfection. Let the light spill out through flaws. That's where the wonder hides. What emerges will not just decorate your garden, it will transform it, turning a forgotten corner into a twilight stage where stories glow and shadows dance. A sanctuary shaped not by cost, but by care. And perhaps that is the quiet revolution of garden borders made from trash. They teach us to see light not as something we install, but something we awaken, softly, intentionally, with heart. '18. Rusty Key Story Fence. There's something hauntingly beautiful about a key with no lock. Something poetic in the rust of forgotten padlocks. In one quiet garden, an ordinary fence has become a memory wall, stitched together not with newness, but with time-worn secrets no longer whispered. Keys of every kind, skeleton, brass, bent, and broken, rest against the sun-aged wood. Some dangle by twine, swaying gently like chimes that choose silence. Others are nailed into place like punctuation marks in a story without pages. A few locks remain clasped, still guarding mysteries long past relevance. No longer useful, perhaps, but never meaningless. What makes this fence special isn't symmetry or polish. It's the weight of what once was. Each key belonged to something, a drawer of letters, a garden shed, a diary perhaps, and now they belong here, together, as if called home by the breeze. It's art without ego, decoration born from decay. If you wish to try this, look first in the quiet corners of your home. The junk drawer, a forgotten toolbox. Ask neighbors for old keys or locks they no longer need. Flea markets and second-hand stalls are full of metal stories just waiting to be heard again. Fasten them to wood with gentle wire, or let them hang loose from jute. Don't overthink the pattern. Let your instincts guide the rhythm, the texture, the song. Nature will do the rest. Ivy will curl through keyholes. Moss will soften sharp corners. Rain will deepen the rust until it becomes part of the poetry. And as you stand back and admire your fence, your gallery of the discarded, you may feel it too. That gentle nudge in your chest. The realization that beauty doesn't always bloom from perfection. Sometimes, it grows from the things we almost threw away. '19. Rope Hug Garden Path. There's a kind of grace in things that don't try too hard to be perfect. A rope, weathered by time and softened by sun, loops gently along the edge of a garden path, not to control it, but to cradle it. This is not a wall. It's a hug, a quiet, grounding embrace that tells the flowers, you're safe here. In this garden, the borders aren't made from bricks or harsh metal. They are drawn with hands and heart, thick rope coiled loosely, pinned with wood, allowed to curve where it pleases. It softens the geometry of the path, letting nature take the lead. Wildflowers spill over like they're whispering secrets to the soil. Their roots don't stop at the edge. They dance right through it. That's the beauty of using rope. It doesn't impose. It listens. You don't need much. An old nautical rope, perhaps from a forgotten garage corner or a local salvage yard. Even jute or sisal will do, the kind used for tying parcels or old garden swings. Let it fray. Let it tell its story. Stake it loosely around a flower bed, or wrap it gently around a vegetable patch. Let it sag in places. Let it breathe. This border doesn't ask to be noticed, but it will be felt, in the way it invites your steps to slow down, in the way it seems to make everything bloom a little softer, a little kinder. Sunlight touches the rope and brings out its textures like lines on an old hand. The imperfections catch the eye gently, reminding us that nothing has to be straight to be strong. You can shape your garden with love, not angles. With story, not symmetry. In a world that often favors the new and the polished, this simple rope border is an act of quiet rebellion and soft restoration. A way to say, even what's old can still hold us. (20) Zen curtain divider space. Sometimes, peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from texture, from the sound of bamboo brushing against the breeze, from the filtered light that dances softly through slats worn by time. In a forgotten corner of the garden, something simple becomes sacred. A curtain once meant for windows, now repurposed to frame stillness. Old bamboo blinds, faded by the sun and frayed at the edges, now hang freely between wooden posts. Not to hide, but to soften. To create a whisper of separation between the world and a moment meant just for you. They don't block the light. They hold it gently, letting it drip through in slender golden lines, like sunbeams slowed down. There's no perfect geometry here. Some bamboo strips hang crooked. Some strings are visible, tied by hand. But that's what makes this space feel honest. Like a journal written in textures. Below, river stones cradle potted lilies or bonsai. Maybe a ceramic bowl catches rain. Maybe a small statue rests in the shadows, not to decorate, but to bless. This is how a Zen divider works, not by force, but by invitation. It gives shape to a space without walls. It frames intention. A place to breathe. A place where your thoughts can stretch out like ferns growing beneath the shade. If you've ever wondered what to do with an old roll-up bamboo curtain gathering dust in the shed, this is it. Hang it between trees or across a garden beam. Let it mark the entrance to a quiet moment. Let it define a corner not by edges, but by energy. You don't need perfection to make peace. You only need presence, and maybe a bit of wind to remind the bamboo to speak softly, now and then. A forgotten blind becomes a gentle veil between the ordinary and the sacred. And just like that, your backyard remembers how to exhale. If this video meant something to you, please know that subscribing means the world to me. You're not just supporting content. You're supporting a dream that keeps my family going. Thank you, truly. I'd also love to hear from you. What did you enjoy the most? Is there anything I could do better to keep inspiring or simply entertaining you? Your feedback helps this channel grow with heart and purpose. Let me know in the comments. I read every one.